So here's the deal. I signed up to put my game into Steam's Next Fest, which I thought was going to be a great idea, but I needed to make a demo for my game, which would have been fine, except I decided to add a few major features to the game just a couple of days before I had to submit my demo, which was a bad idea. I'll go over my Steam stats from the festival at the end of the video. So, I'm making a game about cartoony tanks. And to be honest, I feel like the best part of the game so far is the title. But I'm trying to make the game as good as the title. And here's how I'm doing so far. I made my levels look even better, added music and sound effects, added coins, added stores with upgrades, some major bug fixes, and I set up the level loading system to be direction dependent. And I'll explain what I mean by this. There's a lot to go over here, but I wanted to get a bunch of stuff done so I could release a demo for Steam's Next Fest. You can download it now and check it out. So ladies and gentlemen, here's where we're at. Remember when I made an entire video about how I made my game not look like trash? Well, I made it even better. Take a look. The old style of levels felt so flat and two-dimensional. I'm much more happy with the levels now. I changed the walls to have a separate top layer, and that combined with the varying sizes and heights of the blocks make the levels feel much more immersive in my opinion. Then I added some particle systems to generate snow and sand, and added some post-processing effects which make the worlds feel a bit more vibrant. And I added little models to give each world a bit more pizzazz. For the forest world, I added little mushrooms. The snow world got a snowman, and the desert world got cactuses. Cacti. Cat's eye. So all in all, we're looking a bit better now. But the biggest thing I added was money. I wanted to add coins into the game and allow the player to buy upgrades from the store. So you probably already know where I started, with my good pal Blender. Making a coin was easy peasy. I just needed a cylinder, and then another cylinder, and then another cylinder. And I cut out holes from the first cylinder with the other two, and voila. Then I made a logo in Photoshop to use as a decal on the coin, and threw it into Unity. For the coin's interactions with the player, I gave it a script that will slowly rotate it on whatever axis I want. And when the player collects a coin, it will spin faster and rise up before disappearing. Boom, easy money. I didn't want to just litter coins around levels though. So I made it so you'll collect a coin whenever you kill an enemy. Now I can already hear you asking, but Thomas, what's the point of having money if there's nowhere to spend it? Well, I say the same thing about cryptocurrency, but have no fear. I'm gonna make a very ugly shop so you can use your hard-earned cash to buy some tank upgrades. Making the actual shop was fairly straightforward. I want to make a little village in the future, but I was a bit strapped for time since I decided to add coins and stores 2 days before I had to release a demo. So here's my gorgeous temporary shop. I just put a collider in the doorway that will trigger a pop-up where you can make transactions. Right now the store upgrades are the same as the buffs you get when you pick a new character, but now you can stack them, which is super fun. The game starts to get manic once you buy the 2x speed buff like 3 times. Or if you stack a bunch of allies on your team. Eventually I'll balance this out better and let you buy some unique stuff like different projectiles or special skills like a shield or a turret or mines or something. But right now it just randomizes what gets filled into these 3 slots. I have to say that this is already making the game way more fun. I'm going to put some more effort into making the store a centerpiece of the gameplay. Right now it shows up after every 3rd level that you beat, so there's lots of opportunities to buy stuff. One emergent ramification of this design that I really like is that if you gain an ally, that's 1 less coin you get per level. So you could stack your allies and make the levels much easier to beat, but you'll be getting much less coins in the process. I also spent a lot of time adding in music and sound effects into the game. I don't think that'll be particularly interesting to dive into much, but I'll show you how I implemented it quickly. There's basically 2 types of sounds you need in a game: background music and sound effects. The background music was fairly easy to implement. The hard part was finding copyright-free music I could use. Luckily I remembered that I had bought a Humble Bundle with a bunch of music in it, so I picked the ones I liked and added them into the game by tying a list of songs to a particular world in the game. For the sound effects, also called stingers, I made a list of events in the game that need sound effects and did something similar to the background music, where I basically just made a list of events that were paired with a sound clip to play when I need it. I also started building out an options menu where you could change the volume, but then I realized that I had 1 day until Steam's festival started and I still hadn't submitted my demo. So yeah, I threw that in the trash for now. And man, was I blown away with how much of a difference sound makes. The music is fun and the sound effects give you so much feedback. It's much more immersive and enjoyable to shoot things now. Let's see, what else did I do? Oh yeah, the level loading algorithm. Okay, this sucked. Let me show you what the problem was. So there are 4 doors that can open to take you to the next level once you kill all of the enemies. but I wanted to create asymmetric levels and build walls wherever I wanted. So maybe a level would only have 2 doors that can open. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but my problem was that I was loading the next level randomly. So if I exit to the right, I had no way of knowing if the next level I was going into had a left door that was available for me to enter into. This resulted in the player sometimes transitioning to new levels, but being stuck inside walls, which kind of puts a downer on the gameplay experience. So I was trying to think how I could fix this, and the only thing I could come up with is tracking some metadata for each level. So I made a configuration to track a level's scene name, which biome it belongs to, which doors are available to open, and a boolean to signify if a particular level is a store. So now I can make sure to grab a level only if it has an open doorway that we can enter into. And this works pretty well. I'm mostly happy with it, but there are 2 major drawbacks to this. One is that I need to maintain the list of level metadata if I ever modify or add levels, which will get increasingly more tedious as I add more levels to the game. And 2, it means that you might skip some levels. If there are a couple of forest levels that you haven't beaten yet, but you exit the current level in a particular direction that doesn't match with an incoming direction on the remaining levels, then you'll just get carried to the next world and never get to see those levels. One way that I was thinking I could circumvent this issue is creating hallway levels that act as connectors, so you could exit in any direction and it would make a turn so you could load in more level possibilities. But yeah, besides that, I made a few minor changes. I created a crosshair cursor for the mouse. I added circle indicators around the player and allies so it's easier to see who's who. Oh, and I added win and lose conditions, which I guess is a really important thing. So now if you die 3 times, you get a game over screen. And if you beat all the levels in the demo, you get a win screen. Oh, and also you can pause the game now too. So yeah, that was a lot to try and cram into my demo before submitting my build to Steam's Next Fest, but I actually got it all done with only a few bugs. I was thinking about doing an entirely separate video on how my game did in the Steam Festival, but to be honest, my experience was a bit underwhelming. Only 111 people played my demo, and I got almost the exact same number of wish lists in that period. My game was a bit buried, but I didn't think it was too bad. It was like 4 or 5 pages into its subgenre. I think where I really dropped the ball is not signing up to do a live stream. It seems like that's what drew a lot of traffic to people's demos because Steam would highlight whatever game was signed up to stream for the festival. But overall, it was a good experience. If nothing else, it got me familiar with Steam's backend and build submission process, which is the most awful pipeline I have ever worked with. So I'm glad I didn't have to figure that out when trying to launch my full game. So I would give cramming features into your game days before Steam's Next Fest 2.5 out of 5 stars.